Thanks for checking out this next video. In this one, I want to take you through a course overview so that whether you've already signed on or whether you're trying to decide if you want to take the course, you get a feel for how the course is organized. I'll take you through each section. I will show you a few of the demos of the projects that we'll make. It will just give you a good roadmap as to how I do things. So this is the course landing page. It may, of course, be a little different depending on when you get here. And there are 5 main sections. I'm not counting the introduction here. That has this video in it, as well as a link to my GitHub repository. You can find all the code, and it will be exactly the way I finished when I finished that project or section or whatever it might be. And one thing to note here is that I changed my username from Ridiculous-Inc. to Robert Bunch. Some people had a hard time spelling it or with some of the characters. Robert Bunch is far more sensible. GitHub should still be able to get you there. It should still automatically forward you. But in case it doesn't or you end up in a weird spot, just please remember that or make note of it. The first section is called Before Socket I/O, and I try and do something like this in all of my courses where whatever the technology is, and in this case it's Socket I/O, there's always some underlying technology, or there at least usually is. And for Socket I/O, it's WebSockets. Well, WebSockets has underneath it network sockets. And so few developers have any networking knowledge at all about how TCP works, how the networking layer works, all of the different things that need to happen. And so I go through that in these videos. And a quick warning, if you've never taken one of my classes, I draw a lot. So when I'm not coding, I'll try and communicate concepts through a little whiteboarding exercises. So I'll do this quite a bit. We do a little bit of native WebSockets, and then in Socket I/O 101, we compare WebSockets to Socket I/O, why you'd want to use Socket I/O, and then we make a little chat client and go through the basics of how the library works. I also spend quite a bit of time going through the docs as I want to make sure that I hit everything that the API has to offer, so we'll do that as well. Socket I/O 201 is the next major section, and we take our chat app, which is kind of the thing that you have to do, and we actually make it into something cool. We make a little Slack clone. And I've got an example of that here. There are 2 sides here, and we've got namespaces. So on the left-hand rail, there's the Wikipedia, the Firefox, and the Linux. And then just to the right of that, we have rooms. So kind of like Slack, you can hop between different spaces, and then you have rooms internal, and you can talk back and forth. You can hop between rooms. There's a little search filter, and so on. The main purpose of this section is to get more practice with Socket I/O, apply some more of the API, and get more familiar with namespaces and rooms. If we go to the supplemental videos, this should actually be at the end, but I have just one video in here right now. This is for topics that aren't directly related, but indirectly related to our topics. So if you need a refresher on HTTP 101 or some other topics might be in there, that's where they will be. I have a project on a multiplayer Canvas game, and these are really fun to make. It's one of the coolest things that you can do with Canvas. And I used Agora IO as the model or the template basically that we're using. And this is what we'll make. And unfortunately, I'm not a designer. I'm a developer, so it looks like I made it. But you get the idea. You'll be a little blob, and you'll cruise around, and you'll eat these other dots. And when other people are playing, and I got another example of someone else playing here, if you're smaller and you run into somebody, they eat you. If you're bigger, then you eat them. And we keep score and so on. This is one to definitely do because it will really stretch your ability to keep all of the real-time stuff straight. It's not at all like a normal HTTP type website. So it is a great way to get tons and tons of practice with Socket I/O. Games are like that in general. They always exhaust your toolkit as a developer. And then I have another project here that I've labeled Advanced. It uses React, and if you don't know React, that's okay. I don't add it until towards the end of the project. We do all the back-end stuff first. That way, the people who don't know React or don't care will still be able to do it. But if you are a React person, this will hopefully be helpful for seeing how you'd get it to interact with the backend, with your server. We also use the cluster module as well as the Redis adapter. If you're not familiar with those, it's in there, and they're really, really cool add-ons. But it is a performance monitor. And so I've got an example here where You run a Node program on another computer, it will spit out its CPU load, its memory usage, some other stuff, and that will go real time every second to the server, and then the server will kick it on to React, and we get this nice UI. So that's a general overview of the course. If you've got any questions or suggestions for projects, I always love to hear them. Please send them through on QA. I hope you stick around. The course is going to be fantastic.